Hi, today I'm going to show you how to clean the controls in a NuTone 2411 inside stereo remote station. So the 2411 and its matching left channel speaker, the 2412, are used exclusively on the NuTone 2400 stereo system made in the early 1960s. So here's the back of the station, and what you have here are you have two individual volume controls and you have two spring-loaded intercom switches. And if we turn it back around this way, you can see here's volume control for channel A and volume control for channel B, and these are missing their knobs. These are our shop speakers, so knobs aren't that important here, but you have the two volume controls, and then you have the two lever switches here. You have for inside and outside communication and listen and talk here, and these are spring loaded and they snap back. So these systems, this particular speaker was made in 1962, and it's seen a lot of use. And what you need to know about these are or were the highest quality of build and design and components available back in the day. They usually need some amount of help. On a lot of these systems, the intercom doesn't really get used all that frequently, but you do have to consider that the audio that comes in on the terminal strip here from the AM/FM tuner or record player, it does go through the switches and then the volume controls and out to the speakers. So having the switches clean is important. Now, one of the considerations when you work on these is, one, you really can't take them apart. You have to work on them as they are. And the other consideration is up here on the upper part, you have this synthetic cloth material, and you don't want to get any cleaner on this because it probably won't stain it, but you really don't want to take the chance and then have a discoloration or something like that. So some care is necessary when you work on something like this. One of the other things I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lever switch caps off and put them into a little tin cup like we always do, because we don't need to get cleaner and stuff on those if anything does run out through the slots. The other thing about how much cleaner you're going to use, this is one of those less is more projects. You do have a solid oak finished frame around it, and while I don't think any of the cleaners we're going to use would discolor it, again, you don't want to take the chance because these are nearly irreplaceable nowadays, and if you have nice ones in your house, let's not mess them up. The things that you're going to need to do this with: you're going to, of course, need your Deoxit D5, which is our cleaner of choice that we recommend for all of the control cleaning that we do. We're going to use a little isopropyl alcohol, probably. This is for more extreme cleaning. We have some of our Simichrome polish, and you might think, what are we going to do with that? Watch and see. We have these little tapered, bristly cleaning brushes here. They're like little miniature bottle brushes, and you can find these online, and they're sold. They're quite common. I think you can buy them on Amazon. I'll put a link down below as to what they are so you can buy some. These will come in really handy. And of course, you need some rags and stuff so we don't make a giant mess out of the workbench. The thing we're going to do first is we're going to clean the volume controls, because that's actually the easiest part to start with. Are the two volume controls. They are both identical in size and style, and the way you clean them is the same for both. Now, these are very high quality, and they're actually sealed up really, really well. There are not a lot of openings anywhere in the body of the volume control, and that's an advantage because it's harder for dirt and stuff to get inside. However, just normal humidity in the air after 60 or so years can oxidize the windings inside the volume control and make it be staticky or intermittent or something like that. So that's why they need to be cleaned. I also will caution you, this comes up periodically when people send me emails, oh, wouldn't it be better if you took the volume control all apart and cleaned it that way? No, it's not. These are not designed to be taken apart, and the way these are held together, it's one of those type of constructions where you have this metal cover and it goes down here on the side, and then there's little metal tabs, and when it was put together, the little metal tabs were bent over to hold it together, and if you unbend them to take it apart and you break one off, then you're out of luck. It's not going to stay together properly, and it's not going to work properly. So care is the word of the day here, because these are virtually irreplaceable items at this point, and if you ruin it, then you're out of luck. So, no taking it apart. This is one of those less is more projects. Let's not do anything to make it worse. Let's see if we can just simply make it better. So we're going to put our rag underneath, and I'm going to stand it up like this. And you can see right here at the top, and I'm going to bend these back just a little, there are these 3 metal contacts that come out of the volume control, and they go through the plastic body of the volume control, and these are some of the only openings that there are into the volume control. So what we're going to do here is, and I'm just sort of moving them back out of the way a little bit. You don't necessarily have to do that much, but that's the way I like to do it. We're going to take our deoxit D5, and we're going to very carefully spray the smallest amount into the volume control. Now, I have had people in the past tell me, oh, well, I'm going to clean my volume controls, and I bought the deoxit D5, and I'm going to flood the controls and spray a whole bunch in there and wash everything out. And no, that's not what you want to do. Again, less is more. You don't want to use any more than you absolutely have to make it better. So you can actually do this while the system is on and playing if you want to, because that makes it easier to assess how well the cleaning is going. And you can always add more, but you can't take away if you put too much. So what we're going to do is we're just going to simply spray a little bit, and I'm just spraying it into the middle one because all contacts lead to the inside of the switch. So you don't need to spray it in all 3. You can just usually spray it in one. And now what I'm doing that you can't see is I'm on the front of the speaker, and I'm turning the volume control shaft fully back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Now, these were not very bad to start with because these are shop speakers and they get used periodically, so we sort of maintain them so they're in good working order, and we use them to test people's equipment, and that way we know it works okay. So these aren't really bad. If yours are really bad, if they're really, really hard to turn, if they're really stiff and they feel gummy and sticky and everything, when you spray the cleaner into the little slot and you start to work it back and forth, you'll see that it begins to loosen up and move more freely, and that's really what you want. So you turn the shaft back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and then turn it all the way counterclockwise, and then spray a little more in, and then turn it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth some more, and then turn it all the way clockwise, and then maybe spray a little bit more. You really have to judge it on how it feels, how well you think it's going, and how much improved the sound quality is coming out of the speaker. Is the static and crackly, is it gone, or is it still there? If it's still there, maybe you spray a little bit more. The other thing that people tell me all the time, and I've had lots and lots of people watch all of our remote station control cleaning videos, is they say, by the time I got to the last speaker in my house, I could tell that I was much better at it, and I went back and did the first ones again. And you know, there's a learning curve on everything, and if you've never done this before, you're on the uphill side of the learning curve, so take your time. It's not a big deal. Just go along and pay attention to what you're doing, and you'll be fine. So I'm going to say that one's okay because it moves very freely. Now I would do the second one over here, over there, but I'm not going to show you that because it's the same thing, and why repeat? Once you've cleaned it, then what I would do is take your rag, and if you have any little bit of excess on the outside of the volume control, wipe it off. It will evaporate on its own, but I don't like to leave a mess, so you clean it off because you don't want dirt and dust sticking to it. So now we're going to service the spring-loaded lever switches. And if you watch as I move the levers, you can see parts of it move. That's the top one, and that's the bottom one. And inside each switch, there is an actual spring, and that's what makes the lever return back to the at-rest position. And again, while this particular one is in pretty good condition, I have seen these that you can push the lever to the right, and instead of snapping back like that one just did, it will sort of hang up and slowly creep back and all of that because they're all gummy. One of the problems with this design is that these are all open to the inside of the wall cavity, and over the years a lot of dirt and dust and stuff filters down and lands on this and builds up on it, and it makes it all kind of work poorly. So there are two levels of cleaning that you can do with this. The way these switches are designed, and I'll see if I can make it so you can see this. There's a contact here, this sort of moon-shaped one, that's connected to the part of the switch that moves. So when you move the lever, you can see the disc rotate, and it's moving the fixed contact between these two other contact points here. And the moving part has an unusual shape to it, so right now it's connected to this one and not to the second one, but when you move it, then it connects to both of them, and so on and so on. It's a very complicated mechanical logic in the way they're designed. And for the moving and fixed contacts, there are actually, it's here on the top, there's more on the bottom, they're on the top of the second switch and on the bottom of the second switch. So there's a lot of contacts, and you can sort of tell that by all of the different colors of wires that are connected to everything. And some of the wires come up here and they go up to the terminal strip, and some of them actually come up and then come back to the other side, then they go somewhere else. And so there's a lot to these. At a very minimum, what you can do with these, if you want to do the least amount of invasive cleaning, is we'll put our rag underneath here, and we're going to take our deoxit D5, and all we're going to do is carefully spray on the contacts on the switch, like that. And you want to kind of do this with the speaker in a vertical position, so anything that runs off runs down. Now if you're doing this while it's still connected up, there is this bracket, there's a bracket at the top that connects to the wall, to the frame that's in the wall, and it's sort of, they call it hands-free installation, so you can clip it in, clip the whole speaker in place and get to the back side, and it makes it easier to do. I don't have a mounting frame for one of these, so I can't show you that too much, but maybe one day I will. So after you spray it with the deoxit, all you really have to do is move the switches back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and the rubbing contact between the different surfaces and the deoxit will help remove the oxidation that has built up over the years, and it should improve the operation of the switch. If the switches are really gummy and really sticky, the deoxit will also help dissolve away what's causing that and allow them to move more freely. And you certainly can spray them more than one time if you think it's necessary. Again, using as little as possible, because most of what you're spraying is simply going to run off, and you don't want to waste the cleaner, and also you don't want to make a big mess. Please don't get it all over your painted walls and wallpaper and things like that. For most cases, that's all it really needs. And again, you can assess it as you go along and see how well the cleaning is going, and if it's working out fine just doing it this way, that's all you really have to do. Now, I'm going to show you the more hardcore way of doing it for really, really bad ones. So here's a close-up. This is the hardcore contact cleaning for the intercom switches on this station. So here are our two switches. Here's the top one and here's the bottom one. I'm going to show you how to do this on the top of the top switch, because this is really hard to get in the video because it's so small and it's kind of dark down inside there and it's really kind of hard to see. So I'm going to show you how to do it on the top of the top switch. Now, if you're going to do this level of cleaning, you really are going to have to disconnect the wires from the terminal strip and take the speaker off the wall and put it on a workbench or something like this. I'm actually doing this one while it's standing up, which is not ideal. Normally I would have it laying down, which makes it easier, but then you can't see me do it. So this is for the hardcore deal. So what you need to do this is you need your Simichrome polish, and this works really, really well for this, and you need your little tiny miniature bottle brush. And what you're going to do is you're going to put a little of the Simichrome polish on the bottle brush like that, okay? All I did was I stuffed it down inside the opening of the tube, and the bristles catch it all, and that's great. Then what you're going to do is you're going to very carefully scrub the contact. Now I'm doing this left-handed so you can see. That makes it a little harder. And all you're going to do is you're going to very lightly scrub the contacts. Now the flat contact that's on the center disc, the part that moves when you move the lever switch, Okay, there's part of it, but since part of the contact on the movable disc is covered up by the fixed contact, we have to move it a little bit. We have to move the lever to move the contact so we can uncover the parts that were covered up. Like that. Now, you can see all of the residue here is sort of this milky white colored stuff that's left over from the polish. And then what you need, you have to clean that off. So what you clean it off with is your isopropyl alcohol in the spray can, because that works really well and it won't damage anything. And we're going to set this to the high pressure nozzle setting, and what we're going to do is we're going to wash it away. And the reason you use alcohol is actually a really good cleaner, and it also evaporates really well. If you wanted to, if you were in a hurry, you can use a little compressed air, which also can come in a can, and you can, and not only will it blow the loose stuff off the surface, but it also evaporates it really fast, so it dries up right away. Alcohol is a really great cleaner. Now, I hope you can see that the fixed contact, which is here, when we started, it was sort of a lightly tinted, sort of brownish color. And now, it's actually more silvery color because we've cleaned away all the oxidation that's on the surface of it. Now, it's going to be really hard for you to see, but I can see when I move the lever switch and the disc rotates, there's a spot that was sitting underneath this contact right here, and that spot is still kind of black. So if I can balance it here a little bit, and if we put a little more cleaner on here, and you reach in there carefully, you can scrub it lightly. And then we'll wash it away again with the alcohol. And now when we move the switch, the black spot's gone. How about that? So now it's nice and clean. Now, one of the other things that you have to be careful of when you do this is the movable contact is very sturdy, but these little fixed contacts here and here, these are like a two-piece contact. And the way these sort of are designed is it's like my fingers are the contact. My fingers grip down on the moving contact like this, and the contact slides between my fingers like this. Okay, so these are all manufactured in these really unusual shapes, and they're kind of curved down at the bottom into more of a point, so they touch the movable part at a very specific point. When you're cleaning these, so it's like this. There's the movable part, and it's moving back and forth between the fixed parts. And you see how when I move my finger through my upper finger, it gets pushed up? That's kind of what happens on the fixed contacts. It's the same basic idea. If you have to be careful that you don't bend the fixed contacts. You can't be rough with them, because if you are, you'll lose the connection and then the speaker won't work the way it's supposed to. So this is one of those you have to be really careful about what you're doing while you're doing it. When you get down to the inside one, so the top of the upper switch and the bottom of the lower switch, they're not too hard to do because you can see everything. But when you get to the inside of the two switches, the bottom of the upper and the top of the lower, it's harder because it's harder to see and so forth, and I'm not sure that I can actually do those on camera because I have to like move it around and really look carefully, and I can't really show you that while I'm doing it. So this is the hardcore cleaning, and while this is not something that everybody will want to do, it does make a world of difference in how well these kind of speakers operate, and later speakers also that use different kinds of switches, but this have the same type of problems with extreme oxidation. That is the ins and outs of how you clean the controls on your NuTone 2411 in-wall stereo music intercom station. I hope you found this video interesting and perhaps helpful. If you did, please give a big thumbs up on YouTube because that always helps. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell or on the wheel, put in your email address, and every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.